and gentlemen, thanks for joining us tonight. If you would please rise, join us with the pledge of invocation.
Lord, please be with us tonight as we make decisions for the betterment of our community. Thank you for the at least fortunate result the other day at the skate park that nobody was seriously injured. Please bless those that are serving our country here and abroad and our first responders working tirelessly day in and day out to keep us safe. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call meeting to order, Madam Clerk, on your roll call.
Councilmember Doherty. Councilmember Dumont. Yes. Councilmember Goldie. Here. Councilmember Hoffman. Here. Councilmember Nichols.
Here.
Councilmember Vogelsang.
Here.
Mayor Latham.
Here. Remind all council members, please put your phones in the airplane mode and tuck them away, please. And moving on to agenda item 180.
I move that we approve the minutes of the council briefing held on October 21st, 2019.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion from the council? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? By your action, motion carries. 189.
I move that we approve the minutes of the regular council meeting held on October 21st, 2019.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion from the council? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? By your action, motion carries. Announcements. Ms. Hoffman.
I just want to say kudos to all of the city staff involved in the air show that we had last weekend. It's been a while, I guess, time flies. It seemed to go great as far as from a spectator perspective. I know there was a lot of hard work to make it go off that smoothly, so kudos to everyone involved. Also want to give a plug for the Beaches Museum's Art Festival. It's this weekend in the streets around the Beaches Museum, and it is free, open to the public, jury fine art festival on both Saturday and Sunday. I hope to see you there.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Golden.
I just wanted to mention I attended the trick or treat with the Jacksonville Beach first responders on Halloween that was held at the fire station in the South Beach Park. And I just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone involved in that. The American Legion provided hot dogs and chips and drinks. And then our Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association came out in full force. They had awesome games set up. I mean, the whole fire station was just filled with lots of fun things for the kids to do. Lots of candy was handed out. And then our Jacks Beach Police Department had their vehicles out there so the kids were able to ride on the Segways and sit on some of the ATVs and you know, sit in the police cars if they wanted to and climb on the fire trucks. So it was a great night. I just want to thank everybody for all their hard work and the police officers and the firemen that were there that night as well. And it was a great event. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Dumont.
Thank you. Same with the air show and the city staff and the Halloween party. Unfortunately, I had to work that night. I was not able to attend, and I heard the kids looked fabulous. So I have to take their word for it. Unfortunately, I got to miss it. But I did have a chance to stop by Beaches Dial-A-Ride event today at South Beach Community Center, and what a fabulous event it was, letting seniors know all the different services and options that are available to them here in Jacks Beach. It was a wonderful turnout, fabulous tables, there was music playing, they were dancing, and it was a wonderful time. It was happy to see them all enjoying themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Nichols.
Chip Davis and the 100-pounder fishing tournament raised $145,000 for the Jacksonville School of Autism. Just an amazing community event. I mean, it conflicted with the air show and a couple other events around town. They had an amazing turnout, and that amount just goes so far to helping those kids, and just the difference you see within the kids is just unbelievable. I highly recommend supporting that organization.
Thank you, sir. And let's go ahead and move past courtesy of the floor to City Manager's tab 190. Agenda item 190.
Do you want to do a discussion of this first, because it calls for names in the motion? And we're skipping courtesy of the floor?
Oh, you know what, yeah, I apologize, we're going to do courtesy of the floor and then move forward. But we'll just read that as a straight agenda item
Okay.
when it comes up.
Okay.
We do have several cards today for courtesy of the floor and a couple that are tied to agenda items, so those will be coming separately. But for those that have asked to be heard on the courtesy of the floor, we're starting with Michelle Jackson. Michelle, if you come forward, give us your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Michelle Jackson. I live at 2022 Lakeside Drive, Jacksonville Beach. We have a group here today that is here to make sure that the gate at the end of our street, Lakeside Drive, remains closed once the bridge is complete off of Kings Road. And there's a lot of people here that use in favor, please. Raise your hand. Good evening. My name is Michelle Jackson again, and I've owned my home on Lakeside Drive for over 20 years. When I purchased my home on Lakeside Drive, it was advertised as a house on a cul-de-sac, and all legal documents depicted the street as a cul-de-sac street. Visually, the end of our street was, and still is, in the form of a cul-de-sac with the pavement forming a circle. There were woods with a quaint trail to get through on foot or bike, and there was a basketball hoop for the neighborhood children. At the time of my home purchase, it was intended to be an investment, and a cul-de-sac street was a must, because houses are more desirable on a cul-de-sac, and they have a higher value. Since then, I got married, and a second, more important reason to live on a cul-de-sac was realized. My husband and I wanted to raise our family in a house on a quiet, safe street. We now have 4 boys. Our boys are 14, 11, and we have twins that are 9. Our boys play outside most of the time on a skateboard or a bike, throwing the football, playing basketball, playing tag, and the traffic is to a point that my boys are not safe on what used to be their quiet street. I don't understand how homeowners on Waterway Island, Kings Court, and Lois Lane who purchased their homes knowing the route to and from their home and the intentions of the gate being kept closed are now acting as if our gate must be open for their well-being. If they didn't like the route, why did they buy in that neighborhood? It is awful to think that there are individuals like Ty Gordon and other few people he has been able to coerce are willing to put the safety of my boys and the value of my home at risk for their convenience. Since the beginning, the discussions regarding the end of our street as a way through was only in relation to storm tides or if the bridge was damaged. Again, the impact the opening of the gate has on our street has been stressed as a priority since day one. No one is arguing the opening of the gate when there are extreme weather conditions or bridge repairs like now. But I can tell you the continuous opening of our gate once the bridge is complete would unduly impact the Lakeside Drive neighborhood. Property values will decline, and the safety of our children will be at risk. I am a CPA, and I have done some initial assessments of the decline in property values on our street, and if it's open to traffic, it's hovering to decline between 15 and 20%, and I can email those figures to you. In closing, I would like to say that my family would send our gratitude to our city council members and the mayor for protecting our neighborhoods. I would also like to thank the FDOT for coming in and replacing the bridge so that garbage, fire, and dump trucks can pass over it, because that means our gate can be utilized the way it was intended, only during extreme emergency situations. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, appreciate it. Next is Travis Smith. Travis, if you come forward, give us your name and address, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Travis Smith, and I live on Waterway Island, which is blocking from the gate access, and live at 2009 Waterway Island. And the safety of my children, just if Neptune Beach police can't come to my house, and Jack's Beach, and if the gate's closed, they will not be able to get to my children. It's minutes and seconds matter. So it's kind of, I've just moved in on this neighborhood, and the bridge just shut down when I just moved in during my construction of my house, and it's, I understand about children. We have 20 kids on our block, so it's the same thing. Minutes, safety for everybody. It's, if they have to go all the way around, it costs us minutes and lives. It's down all the safety.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Next on the agenda, or on the list, is Morgan Cybers, is that right? Morgan, if you come forward, give us your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, I'm Morgan Siders. I also live on Waterway Island Lane. I'd like to start with, I'm a real estate broker, and a 20% reduction in property value is absurd, not a chance. Going past that, like Travis was saying, we do have children. I saw somebody propose at one point that first responders could have bolt cutters in their car, and if they didn't have a pass, that's also absurd. In a recent training one of our neighbors had, they had a first responder CPR training, and we're informed that for every minute that a first responder is delayed, it takes an additional 10% off of the likelihood of the victim to survive, if it's a choking or a drowning of some form. So it takes somebody, and we've had incidences before in the neighborhood, somebody's garage caught on fire, they heard the fire trucks get to the gate and go all the way around. Had that been somebody in a life or death situation, it could have been a very different outcome. Also, we're not using for a shortcut, that's actually our town. We live in Jacks Beach, we pay Jacks Beach taxes, we go that way. You guys want to force us through Neptune Beach, like, has anybody checked Neptune Beach? Are they cool with us all going their way every time? Like, your 2 school zones and the 5-way light, you guys are doing a traffic study on, nobody's considered the additional traffic that's going to go through there during school hours and rush hour traffic. You know, there's a lot more to take into this rather than we're cutting through. This is our town, our schools, our city hall, everything is down here, and that's how we get through. Why in the world would we take a 15-minute detour to another municipality to access our amenities, you know, that we pay taxes to use? And also, a cul-de-sac developer is not dumb. When you have a cul-de-sac, you build homes all the way around it. There is a reason why there are not homes at the end of that cul-de-sac. It was proposed through a fair, it always has been. I've read through all the documents, and it's been written several times that in the future, should there become a need for a through, then it will be addressed by city council. And the fact that it's been allowed to perpetuate for this many years and become us against them and make us feel ostracized where, like, should we jump on a ferry and take it to beach because Jacks Beach doesn't want us going through there, Neptune Beach doesn't want us going through there? Like, that's not fair. We're residents, we live here, and we have a right to use our roads. I don't see how it's fathomable to use these. Yes, everybody has kids, we all want them to be safe, we do too, but we're not using it as a cut through. Like, that's our way of life, that's how we get through. It's not somebody's sob story to say, we don't want you to go through. And why did we buy a home there? Because they were giving a bad deal 2-3 decades ago, you know, by the developer. If somebody lied, I'm sorry, but also, like, we bought our home, you can sell your home. If you don't like it, you know, you guys have the right to sell. You know, so there's plenty of opportunity for everybody, but I think that this needs to be based on facts and not what we want in some note written on a piece of paper 30 years ago.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Ty Gordon, if you come forward, give us your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes, sir.
Ty Gordon, Waterway Island, 2040 Waterway Island Lane. Good evening. Thank you to those who have taken the time for today to speak with me. Mayor Latham, you said in your remarks on October 7th that our latest efforts to start a conversation around the parcel at the end of Lakeside Drive were never taken seriously. There's a number of us here tonight to ensure you do take it seriously. Let me say first, I know what I and the folks in our petition represent to those that oppose us, change. I'd like to make clear I'm your neighbor, and I'm not up here trying to take away from the enjoyment of your home or endanger your families. Since its recordation, Zero Lakeside has been owned by the city and is owned for right-of-way and streets with no restriction. The intention has clearly been for that parcel to become a street. It's Lakeside Drive, not Lakeside Court. The question has been when. The key document is the 79 letter from the city to William Tenney, who lived on Arden Way and developed most of the Ocean Forest community. And in there seems to be an agreement that it would not be a street until Seagate Avenue was, quote, open to Penman. However, 11 years and 3 weeks before his death, 11 years later, Mr. Tenney did not place that use restriction covenant on the deed. In a 94 note accompanying that letter from one of the Lakeside residents, Mayor Marsden writes, our feeling is if Seagate is open, Lakeside not needed. This clearly indicates that Zero Lakeside may be needed for road unless Seagate is reconnected. This debunks Mayor Latham's comment from 10/7 that Mayor Marsden made any sort of promise to the residents of Lakeside. Over the last 50 years, 3 out of 4 roads to our neighborhood have been taken away via disasters or development, 2 directly via the development of the Ocean Forest community. I cannot believe it was the intention of Jax Beach Planning Department to quarantine our neighborhood and funnel traffic through Neptune Beach. A 2015 letter from Manager Forbes' office states, "We will continue to monitor the situation. If operation of the gate is a public safety concern, we may look at opening the gate for a longer period of time or working towards rebuilding the Seagate Bridge depending. I've confirmed with Fire Chief Soto the gate would cause a minimum delay of 50 to 90 seconds when responding from Jax Beach for a fire and medical emergency. Captain Evans from Jax Beach Police confirmed that the gate would cause a delay in response that bolt cutters would need to be used if the officer did not go through Neptune Beach. Bolt cutters. Additionally, restricting access to the right-of-way would decrease the use of electric low-speed vehicles in the affected neighborhood. Further, because of our proximity personally to San Pablo Elementary, Duval Schools is not required to offer bus service to our neighborhood school. However, this does not account for the 2.7-mile commute through Neptune Beach to San Pablo Elementary. I'd like to know if the city is aware that we're being denied access to public school transportation. Our safety concerns have been called a red herring in the past. The true red herrings are the concerns about a shortcut and dangerous traffic increases. The truth is some people don't want their neighbors driving by their houses. That being said, I too wish everyone would stop at stop signs and go below the posted speed limit. We clearly need to be discussing an electronic gate, low-speed vehicle access, and regular weekday access at the very least. Finally, a number of residents who want the gate closed are Neptune Beach residents that have been
Need
beneficiaries.
to wrap up this work.
There will, 2 more sentences. Have been beneficiaries of the Seagate Bridge collapse and the poor planning by Jax Beach. They seem to have no issue with the negative effects on their Neptune Beach neighbors to the north. We ask to give equal weight to the affected Neptune Beach residents on the north side of the Kings Road Bridge where our traffic is dumped when the gate is closed. In conclusion, I'll say that you as council people are not elected to take sides with those whom you sympathize with most, but to facilitate finding solutions to complex problems.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
William Randolph. William, if you come forward, give us your name and address. They have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is William Randolph, and I live at 1835 Nightfall Drive in Neptune Beach, Florida. I'm here tonight on my wife's birthday. This is an important topic, and I'd like to talk to you about it. You know, it is certainly convenient to have the gate open. It saves me almost 5 minutes on my drive to work every day. It's easier for my wife to take the children to school and to pick them up at the end of the day. Our church is close to Beach Boulevard, so having the gate open makes for a quicker drive there too. Despite all of these things, I think the gate should be closed after the Kings Road Bridge construction is completed. Why do I feel this way, you may ask? Mainly because I'm a parent, and the safety of my 2 small children is the most important thing in my life. It should not surprise anyone that providing my family a safe environment trumps convenience. I love my neighborhood, and one of the main reasons I purchased my house on Nightfall Drive 9 years ago was to raise my family there because of the location. You see, my street is a loop, and there's no reason to drive down the loop unless you live there. It's kind of like a cul-de-sac, but different. It's great. My kids can play in the front yard, and aside from the occasional neighbor or a random golf cart, traffic is almost non-existent. I'm worried that a permanently open gate will lead to folks trying to cut through from Atlantic to Beach Boulevard. If this happens, both my quiet street and Seagate will see the effects of this cut-through traffic. My cul-de-sac, so to speak, will become a freeway. Now, I'm not just worried about myself and my family. That would be selfish. Every day that I drive down Lakeside Drive, I think of the families on that road. I don't want to subject them or their children to any additional traffic. They should be free to play outside without worry, just like my children, just like yours. I brought this turtle with me today to remind everyone of the reason why the gate should stay closed. The fact that many of the families who are angling to foist an increase in traffic on their neighbors in the name of convenience have the same turtle in their yard. I find that pretty revealing. It's okay for you to have a turtle in your yard, but you want to make more traffic for my family. I'm sure they bought their homes, or they did, so their kids could play outside safely, just like I did. Those people need to ask themselves, would they feel the same way if the convenient access to Beach Boulevard was through their cul-de-sac? I'm willing to bet they would not. Got 30 seconds left. I'd like to address the false narrative of the first responder. I would know I am a first responder. I've been a detective with the Sheriff's Office for almost 12 years. The fire department is going to send the Beach, or if it's coming from over by Queens Harbor, they're gonna send the closest unit. So if there's a fire, they're gonna send that, whatever's closest. So in closing, I'd like to say, please vote to keep the gate closed, be a good neighbor, and think about the safety of not only your family, but the other folks who are blessed to live in this great community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Randolph.
Take that for a living.
John Lehman, if you come forward, give us your name and address, you'll have 5 minutes, sir. In your relation to the former Secretary of the Navy?
My name is John Lehman, and my wife and I, our son, live at 2033 Waterway Island Lane. I guess first of all, I would ask the council to consider posting an open house or an open forum so that all the parties here can get down and talk rationally about this as opposed to what we're hearing tonight.
Can you speak up,
Yes.
just so we can hear you?
Okay.
You can pull that microphone down a little closer to the mic.
Got there?
I will.
Okay. We're greatly concerned about having only one way to get out of our neighborhood when the Kings Road Bridge is open and the gate to Lakeside Drive is closed. It gives us concern that we have to go to Neptune Beach. Neptune Beach streets have recently put up a bunch of speed humps and stop sign at every corner. If we try to cut through to get over to Florida, back to Jackson Beach. Our community of interest is Beach Boulevard. We go there for Baptist Hospital, we go to the Mayo Clinic, our church is just across the street here. We like to go to the Jackson Beach part of it. So our interest is going through the Lakeside Drive, get out to Oakwood, get out to Pinewood, take 12th Street across the Penguin, and get out to the beach. Again, my plea to you is, can we have an open forum sponsored by the council to discuss this and not just strap it as old business and with nothing further to discuss?
Thank you, Mr. Lehman. Just to be clear, we've had at least 2 workshops and several discussions about this with the public.
Where was the notice of it?
This is
We weren't
years
informed.
ago.
Well,
Okay, we've been
ma'am.
here 2.5 years, so that's probably perceived.
Okay. Just want to make you aware of the fact that we haven't back then. There's been a few council members here that weren't at those meetings, but we have had those meetings. Patty Heilman, Patty, if you come forward, give us your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening. I hear both sides of this.
Start with your name and address.
Okay, my name is Patty Harmon. I live at 1857 Kings Road, which is actually dead ends into the cul-de-sac on Kings Road. So it's through the Lakeside Drive gate, past the Kings Court, past Seagate, and then you follow it all the way from there. So we have had experiences on both sides of the bridge being open and flooded, while the back gate is closed, which I understand that may not be an issue moving forward. But if it is, we have also already spoke at a city council meeting, and we had a situation when there is a tree that blocked the Kings Road Bridge. We have no way to get in and out. There is a tree on top of my house with water flooding in. My husband couldn't get in because the gate was locked, and he trampled through the woods to get to us to help us. So that was a concern. Like many of the residents have said, I feel that this could be a safety issue if we need help. I agree with what Ty has shared and many of the residents about keeping the gate open. I would just ask and challenge you guys to just dig a little bit deeper, not to make promises, maybe just off the cuff, but do due diligence for what has maybe been perceived before, and maybe have another open discussion forum, because there are a lot of new residents, us included, over the last 6 years. And for the safety of my kids too, I have one of those turtles in our cul-de-sac. People fly down around the corner all the time, and we live on the cul-de-sac. So, thank you for your service and your time, and you guys opening this up again for public discussion. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Appreciate it. Tim, I'm just going to say Tim Z. Tim, if you come up, I can't catch, you can tell me the whole name and we'll put it on the record.
My name is Tim Ketchniak, and I'm a resident of Jacks Beach, 2768 Lois Lane. I've had my lot since 2002. I recently, over the last 3 years, have built my own house on it. And so I've enjoyed both the bridge and the access. I am too retired Jacksonville fireman, and I can see, I look at it from a safety aspect, response time. And our rule was to try to take and get it in, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. If you add a minute, which is what they say, on an average, to a response time, let's just take for one day, when they get a call at the fire department, have them sit on the apron for 1 minute and then respond. And then see how the rest of the community is going to feel about that. Now take those people's thoughts and then put that to the 45 or 50 people that live in Jacks Beach now, and don't deny them that minute, because that minute can save a life. Make sense? Let's try that.
Thank you. Ruth Forrest. Ruth, if you come forward, give us your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes now.
My name is Ruth Forrest. I was involved with this issue.
Is your address too, please?
I'm sorry, Ruth Forrest, 2729 Lowe's Lane, Jacks Beach. I was involved in this issue about 4 years ago when it came up the last time. We just keep kind of kicking the can on down the road with it, and I don't see anything getting solved. We're kind of where we were the last time. There are a lot of side issues. There are a million things involved, and everybody's affected one way or another. To me, what it came down to after sifting through everything, and I still feel this way, is that when you have a piece of property that the city has bought that has no deed restrictions, the city paves it over, and then they put a gate on it and says, okay, citizens of Jacksonville Beach, you have bought this piece of land, you have paid for it to be paved, now you're going to pay for a gate, and now we're going to lock you out of there when we feel like that's what we want to do. And meanwhile, we're going to have a guy that has to work for the city and come by and lock it and unlock it from time to time, and in some cases every day. Plus, you're going to be impacted every time that there's an emergency with the flooding or with the tree falling down. And I don't know of any situation anywhere that I've heard of where you have a setup like that. We're putting a gate on a city street that the residents have paid for, but they're denied the use. And that's really all I have to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Dave Palladino. Dave, if you come forward, give us your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes, sir.
Before I make my addresses, there were some packets that I'd like to be handed out to all the members, please. It's not my clock yet.
Let's start with your name and address.
Yes, sir. David Palladino, 2069 Lakeside Drive. I appreciate your service. I too served the city in the 1980s for about 10 years on the Board of Zoning and Adjustment, serving twice as the chairman, so I know a little bit about zoning laws and variances and hardships. I'm unique in the fact that I've owned a piece of property in Lakeside Drive longer than anyone. I bought the property in 1984 with my wife Linda, and we scrimped and saved until we could build a house in 1989. And on the first sheet of the package, you'll see there's a picture of the corner of Oakwood and Lakeside Drive of a city sign that says dead end. That street sign has been there for 35 years. When we bought the property, it was a little piece of heaven. Paid extra money for a cul-de-sac, lived at the end of the street, water to the east, marshland to the north, just perfect. And then 17 long years ago, something bad happened. The Kings Road Bridge was in disrepair, and the city had to make accommodations. People need access to their property. But now, after the Department of Transportation and Jacks Beach got millions of dollars to repair the bridge, it's about time for the bridge to open, and it's time for the gate to be closed. And the reason for that, it's ironic that all the people that want the gate open live on cul-de-sacs.
Amen.
And what's ironic, all the people that want the gate closed knew there was one way in and one way out when they bought their property.
No, we didn't.
And when we bought our property 35 years ago, we were told there was one way in and one way out. I don't care if you call it a lane, I don't care if you call it a court, doesn't matter what you call it, it's still a cul-de-sac. And hopefully the appreciation of this board is sensitive to the needs of the people, not just that have been there for 2 years, but have been there for 35 years. In your packet, you'll see a map of the area. So if you see Lakeside Drive, then the next street is Oakwood Court, and the next street is, Kings Court, then Kings Road, then Lois Lane, and Waterway Lane. They're all cul-de-sacs. And I find it almost humorous that people that live in a cul-de-sac are fighting people in a way that we think is unreasonable. So what's going to happen is that we are going to continue to voice our opinions in a respectful and a friendly way to this council to make sure that you live up to the promises that the city has been making to the people on Lakeside Drive since 1984. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. This is the last card I have for this particular item, and I just want to make everybody aware that I've asked the city attorney to draft an agenda item for our November 18th meeting to come to a conclusion on this topic. So it will be on November 18th agenda.
Can you give me more detail of what sort of item? What do you mean?
It will be posted in public record. Okay? Next, for general courtesy of the floor is Curtis Loftus. Curtis, if you come forward, give us your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes.
Curtis Loftus, 348 Aquatic Drive. It's Atlantic Beach. Also have a small business, 317 on 4th Avenue North. I'm here as the executive director of Deck the Chairs. We're getting ready to have another show, so figured I'd just prep the city one more time. We'll be in the park on the 18th. That's when we take the site over. That's a little different for us. Typically, we're after Thanksgiving. This year, we're ahead, which we're grateful to be able to spend about a week working on the park, making it as best we can. We've got some pretty exciting stuff for you this year. Especially a big exhibit that we've been working on for the last 5 months with Beaches Go Green. They actually provided that space with the jellyfish last year. For all those that came into the exhibit, you saw 3 large 16-foot tall jellyfish wrapped with plastics and had a huge message that got quite a bit of interest, actually nationally. So Beaches Go Green has come along with Deck the Chairs and we've got 3 private and then the nonprofit group that are working on this Octopus Garden. And the Octopus Garden is a $40,000 exhibit that will have, again, a plastics message. It'll have lighting that's probably going to compete against our tree for the first time, so 2 competing elements. We're super excited about this exhibit, about the space, all new stuff and then similar stuff that you've seen in the past. So 40 chairs again decorated up. Lots of volunteers getting excited, lots of people working on it, been working on it for a year. We open the park on the 23rd, so everyone here is invited. Please come out. We actually have every weekend there's something going on. This year we actually, and I've shared this before, but we have a Christmas Eve service that's going to happen for the first time in a big way. Beaches Ministerial Group is going to put that on. We have the Jags putting a pep rally on for the first time, which we're excited about. We have the Gator Bowl doing their pep rally. So at the end of the event on January 1st, the Gator Bowl will be out there with a massive pep rally and thousands of people. For our restaurants and our bars, it should be pretty cool. And then just to let you know, as from a volunteering standpoint, we're still looking for folks if they want to help out. The 18th, you can be in the park if you like to sling a hammer or maybe string some lights. Please come on out, and we just think, We don't know if this is going to happen or not, but we did get contacted from NBC Nightly News. So Lester Holt's producer is interested in coming out and potentially filming on one of our evenings. We've mentioned that the 14th would be a good night. That's our actual night of music and dance. So there's people paying attention out there. We're really excited. We want to put our best foot forward. And so anyone that wants to volunteer, let us know. And like us on Facebook and all that other stuff. So that's about it.
Thank you, Curtis, and thanks for another exciting year. We're looking forward to it. Ken Marsh, Ken, if you come forward, give us your name and address. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Ken Marsh, 2011 Dale Avenue. What I want to address the council tonight is really this segment of the council meeting. It's called the courtesy of the floor. To the credit of everybody on this 2019 council, this year you guys implemented a new process that when citizens voice their concerns or recommendations, that you would review what was said at the end of the meeting and evaluate the merit and possibly subsequent action. I cannot impress how important it is for the citizens to know that their time earns this discussion. I can tell you firsthand that without this new process, that you potentially open the door that the citizens may feel disregarded and unheard. In 2014, I came to the council with a possible proposal that at the time I thought had merit. It was a proposal about a program in Frederick County, Maryland, which is where I'm from, where the citizens could pay for public assets to be used as a memorial for their loved one. What I handed out to you is what I handed out to the council in 2014. The first pick is a bench that my wife and I purchased in memory of my father and mother-in-law, who passed in 2010 and 2014 respectively. That park bench is located in the favorite park right next to their house. The next pick is how this program is administered. When I came to this council in 2014 and tried to engage members of the council to review the value of this program, I did not talk about the specifics of the 501c organization, but simply about the value of the program. Unfortunately, I did not get a response from council. So why do I bring this up tonight? Because tonight we're going to discuss a very similar proposal. Obviously, I support it, and I'm sure that you will too. What is important to note is had we had this review process in place in 2014, that we would not have missed 5 years of opportunity. There is an opportunity cost when we delay. Trees would have matured and the benches would have been used by our citizens. But my purpose is not about the past, but the future. This segment has purpose. It has value. I believe that that's why you guys have given this review spot a place on the agenda. So my purpose before you tonight is to congratulate you in implementing a change, but also to recommend one more major change. And that is, give the courtesy of the floor review session an official spot on the agenda. It should come right before the adjournment. Let's make sure that regardless of how much is on your plate, on any given night, that the citizens know that you are listening and that they are not disregarding. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item 190.
I move that we authorize the mayor and/or councilors' attendance at the Institute for Elected Municipal Officials Training January 10th through 12th, 2020 in Jacksonville, Florida.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Stephanopoulos.
Multiple council members have expressed an interest in attending this particular training, which is put on through the Florida League of Cities. There is sufficient travel and training budget fund to support multiple council members going. As we did with Florida League of Cities, we're here to see how many have an interest and to see if there's an authorization for those to partake.
Thank you, sir. I read the agenda item, and I think that this is a worthy course for our new council members, the ones that have been on for less than a year. I'm not too sure I see a benefit to those of us who have been on council for 7 years. But this is open for discussion, so. Ms. Golden?
I reached out to Mr. Stefopoulos about this, and I would be interested in attending if we have an opportunity to approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mont?
What Sandy said.
Okay, Mr. Nichols?
Yeah, I was actually looking at going to one of them last year that was out of the area, and I think it was, because it's here, I think it's a great time, and I'd like to attend.
Okay, so we've got the 3 new council members. Looks like they're interested. So we've got a motion on the floor. Do we want to specify the motion for the 3 new council members? Why don't we modify the move? Thank you. And we need a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second on the floor. Any additional discussion, Ms. Golden?
Sorry.
No? Okay, any additional discussion, Mr. Nichols?
I mean, I'm open to the other, if anybody else wants to go, I mean, I think the price is pretty low for the amount of information you're gonna get if somebody's interested in continuing on with public service and helping Jacksonville Beach.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm open to other people doing what they'd like to.
Mr. Mont?
I understand where Mr. Nichols is coming from, and I would agree with that. However, if you read the description online, it's for council members in their first term. That's what it's geared towards, and so I don't know if once you're out of your first term, it's just not designed for more advanced council members.
Ms. Hoffman?
I would just like to say I did look into this and considered potentially attending just because we weren't offered this opportunity when we were early in our first term. I'm probably unable to attend anyway, but if there's a last minute cancellation or something like that, I might be able to take advantage of it. There's a non-refundable registration, but at this point I don't want to be one of the main people considered.
Thank you. Okay, we've got a motion on the floor and any additional discussion. Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dumont?
Yes.
Councilmember Golding? Yes. Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Nichols?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogelsang?
Yes.
Mayor Latham?
Yes. 191, please.
Move that we approve the price quote from Vanguard Electrical Contractors, Inc. for installation of a new electrical service to existing water production well number 23 located at 2771 Pulliam Street, south of Sunshine Park and west of South Beach Parkway.
The address is wrong, I think. If you look at the map, if we want to change the motion to make it right, because I live at 3145 and the well is 3177. So the agenda says 2771. I'm not sure why, and it's Pulliam Court, not street.
Goodness gracious. I'll read the recommendation that does not have the address listed in it. Since there was no second, I move to approve the price quote from Vanguard Electrical Contractors, Inc. for installation of a new electrical service to existing water production well number 23 as described in the memorandum from the Public Works City Engineer dated October 17, 2019.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Stavropoulos?
This is, as the memo expresses, electrical upgrades to this particular wellhead. There was actually 2 parts to the project. Beaches Energy updated the transformer that goes to this particular site, and Public Works is now looking to upgrade the electrical system from that transformer to the actual well itself. City Engineer Marty Monroe is here if you have any questions.
Any discussion from the council? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Golding? Yes. Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Nichols?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogelsang?
Yes.
Catherine Demott,
Yes.
Mayor Latham.
Yes, 192, please.
Move that we approve matting services from Sunbelt Rentals to facilitate repairs to the 805 transmission line in the amount of $30,340.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, Mr. Stefopoulos.
This one's just a little odd in that when the city started this particular project, it was below the purchasing threshold of $25,000. Once the contractor was on site and we started looking at the actual site conditions, we realized additional materials were needed in order to perform the work required. That ultimately drove the price above the threshold of $25,000. So this request for authorization is effectively after the fact. Beach's Energy Director, Alan Putnam, is here if you have any questions for him. And he's got,
So, Alan Putnam, Director of Beaches Energy. We initially went out here, we figured it was gonna be, under $20,000. We started laying this matting material. We found out that this area, we thought it was maybe 2 feet deep, was actually about 4 feet deep. So they had to almost double the amount of matting material. And this is so we could drive a truck out there to actually fix 2 broken insulators on the transmission line. But it is a video, but it's not gonna play. Which is fine, but they had to go maybe, about half a mile of this stuff, and even then, with our 100-foot bucket to get it back into that right of way to fix those insulators, the bucket truck still had water that was halfway up the tires. So it was really deep. So, and we had to get this done in a timely manner. Excuse me. As our Guana substation project's almost done, this required that this circuit be operational before we put it into service. If there's any other questions.
Any other questions from the council, comments? Thanks, Alan. Madam Clerk, get a roll call, please.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Councilmember Nichols.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogelsang.
Yes.
Councilmember Demott.
Yes.
Councilmember Golding. Yes. Mayor Latham.
Yes. Madam Clerk, please read resolution number 2044-2019 by title only, please.
A resolution by the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, establishing the City of Jacksonville Beach Memorial Tree and Bench Program, assigning the City Parks and Recreation Department with program administration, establishing program guidelines, fees, and requirements, setting a commencement and implementation date, and providing for an effective date.
I move that we approve a resolution that establishes the city's Memorial Tree and Bench Program for city parks as described in the memorandum from the Director of Parks and Recreation dated October 28, 2019.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, Mr. Stefopoulos.
Mr. Fatides and I have been in discussions over the past several months about establishing programs such as this. One of the benefits is, as Mr. Marsh mentioned earlier, it's a way for residents and members of the community to recognize some of their family members who may have passed within the community. The second thing that it also does is it establishes specific locations for those memorials that are in park-like settings, so that if there is something that occurs within the community, rather than having memorials at various locations or set up at street intersections, this focuses those efforts into the park-like setting. So here to talk a little bit about the program is Director Fatides, and he's got a couple slides to talk to you about what this would look like.
Thank you, sir. Hi, Jason.
Jason Fatides, Parks and Recreation. I have a lot more to offer that the city manager did. Obviously, it's a very popular program with many cities and counties throughout the country, and we think it will work well in our Parks Department. I do want to recognize, if I may, Lorraine Trundle, who did a lot of the legwork on this project, and Lorraine's the glue that kind of keeps the department together, so thank you, Lorraine. What we foresee happening is the donor will select from one of our parks and then work together with the park staff to decide the ultimate location. Parks obviously will take responsibility for the maintenance and the preservation of the tree or bench. A couple of slides to show that we, so the bench can come with engraving or a plaque, and then we envision the tree, we'd have a standard size plaque bronze at the base of the tree. The other thing I might mention is we are able to piggyback with the City of Jacksonville's Tree Commission. They've got a program that will be very helpful. What that will do will help us acquire more mature trees that have a great chance of survival.
Thank you, sir. Stand by just a second. We've got a couple lights on. Keep Ms. Golden.
Mr. Patides, first of all, one of the things that the memo mentioned was pets also being memorialized, and I know we've done that in Paws Park. And so I just wanted to mention that I did not see pets mentioned in the resolution, so would it be possible to add that to the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. We did catch that scrivener's error this morning, and I asked the city clerk to make those changes. So thank you.
Thank you. And then the other thing, Mr. Marsh gave us this handout, and it has a bench in here that actually has the armrest that's in the middle of the bench, which we know that tends to help discourage people from camping out on our benches. Do we have any options with the bench that you've looked at to be able to do something similar?
Yes, very easily you could add a third arm in the middle of the bench to that particular bench. We haven't finally decided. I think that was the best selection that we could find that was ADA compliant, that would stand up to the weather. And but you know, we think for the price that we have in the resolution, that would suffice.
I want to say I think the benches look great, and I like the fact that there's, I guess we would allow the color selections as well, or are we just going to go with one color?
Again, that's something we haven't really finalized, whether we standardize to one color or allow the donor to pick the color.
Okay. I think this is wonderful. Thank you very much. And thank you, Lorraine, for all the work that you did on this, too.
Lorraine, stand up for us. Do a couple push-ups now for us. Lorraine, thanks very much for all you do. Okay, Ms. Dumont.
Thank you. I just want to say this is a fabulous program, and I'm looking forward to it getting implemented very much. My dad used to, I had a bench in my front yard back when we were buying my parents, and my dad used to take his walk, and we'd get to my house and just sit on the bench. I wouldn't even know he was there, and I'd walk by the door and see my dad sitting in my front yard on the bench. So I like the bench. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Nichols?
I did have a couple concerns with the bench that was showing up there that doesn't have the armrest. There's one in the attachment B that looks like it's a 3.5 to 4 foot wide bench. I think that's a pretty good solution too, and you can actually, you know, they want to put multiple ones like facing each other, so people could talk and communicate. I think that's good. I just don't want to see a 6 foot bench that's going to have, as Ms. Golden said, somebody camping out on it. Also, in the photo, the plaque that you have right there, my concern is that looks very, very easily removed. I'd probably suggest mounting it on a concrete slab or something. You know, color-wise, I mean, I think they look good. I think it's a great program, and you know, I'm a big fan of the city's program that is allowing us to hopefully have a lot more trees in our community.
So the bench that was shown on attachment D is actually the bench that we've picked out, and that one we could very easily add a arm into the middle.
But these are 6 foot. These are 6 foot benches.
Yes.
Okay, but they do have 4 foot benches as well, right?
I'm not sure if they do. We can look into that, Ms. Nichols, but I know that the one we had on attachment B was a 6 foot bench.
Okay. The ones I've seen in the past, the 4 foot ones tend to discourage a lot more, and even with the bar in the middle, it tends to, people tend to get creative. So, just something to think about. Thank you.
Definitely, and we did think about, we do envision that plaque will be mounted on a post in concrete.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Hoffman?
I just also think this is a great idea and really like that we're teaming up with the tree program with the county. And when we do decide final what bench and what color and everything, do we foresee using that as our standard bench for other benches within a park for consistency's sake?
Yes, that was the idea.
Great.
Quick revisit. Okay.
Just I'm not sure what happened to them or whatever, but I do recall a couple of years ago that the benches that we had on the boardwalk, all the benches got removed. And I just I don't know the rationale, the complete rationale for that. But, yeah, I mean, does anybody know why we chose to remove those?
I don't think that was directed by council. That was, the
That was
decision
city
was made by
manager.
Public Works or city
Okay.
manager, but it wasn't something that was discussed at the council level.
Okay.
Ken, did you say what you needed to say, or do you want to readdress this? You got a card in for this event?
Yeah, I'd like to
Okay.
schedule that.
Come on up.
10 March 2011, Yale Avenue. As I mentioned earlier, I fully support this initiative. I'm sure you will too. If you have any doubts, you can call Frederick, Maryland, because they've had that in for years. The only thing that I would add, other than what's already been talked about, is this program specifically is talking about trees and benches. And there's a lot more opportunity out there that folks want, and you had mentioned pets, but there's a tremendous opportunity out there for other things. For instance, picnic shelters where you actually have covers, playgrounds, art. There are many other areas that folks would be willing to contribute money, and the city will not have to pay for those assets. So that shouldn't do anything to deter you from this particular program, but it should, I hope, you will not be so closed-minded that there's not a broader opportunity out here moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so the motion on the floor has been amended to include a Scrivener error which involves including pets. Is that acceptable to everybody? Okay, Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Nichols?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogelsang?
Yes.
Councilmember Dumont?
Yes.
Councilmember Golding?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes, and before we read anything else, on agenda item 194, the city manager's answer to address this item.
Yes, this particular item was slated to come back in front of council. However, our staff, in conjunction with working with Baptist Hospital, both are in agreement that we want to defer this item to February 3rd as we continue to work on signage alternatives for the hospital. So that is our requested direction at this point tonight.
Okay, can I get a motion?
Move the table.
Second. Can I get a second?
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Any discussion from the council? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? By your absent, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item 195, Madam Clerk, please read ordinance number 2019-8116, third reading, public hearing by title only, please.
An ordinance amending Chapter 4 alcoholic beverages of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida by amending Section 4-2 prohibited hours of sale, consumption, and service, providing for the required security measures, providing for enhanced penalties, providing for the repeal of all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date and for other purposes.
I move that we adopt ordinance number 2019-8116, amending section 4-2, prohibited hours of sale, consumption, and service of chapter 4, alcoholic beverages of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Stefopoulos.
This is hopefully the third and final reading. The minor change was made at the direction of council since the last reading.
Thank you, sir. Open the floor. I'm sorry, before we open the floor discussion, I do have two cards for this agenda item. Manjola Rajda, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, if you come forward, please, and give us your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes, ma'am.
It's 731, sorry, I'm a little nervous, I'm not good with.
You just speak up just a little bit.
7316 Avenue South. That is my living address, and my restaurant is Salt Jack's Beach, 33 Bush Street North. I'm not exactly sure. I just saw the meeting about it, and I'm not sure what's being changed because or what's being, added to it. But I've had this restaurant for 7 years now. This is my 7th summer. And for the past 3 years, I'd say that I have gone out of my way to make sure that I comply with everything that needs to be done as a restaurant that has the extension. I wish I had a full license, but those are not available to purchase. So I try to be 100% to make sure that everything is done the right. Actually, this summer, I have yet to have a day off, a weekend off, just because I want to be there and make sure everything is done in the right way, and everything should be perfect. That, that I have talked to the police, and I have said anything that what I need to do to make sure that I make Jack's Beach a safer, and whatever it is that I need to do to make sure that my restaurant is in compliance with everything. So, including with staff, security, with Jack's Beach Police Department. So, I'm not sure why this is coming back again. I'm not sure why this is happening, because I thought we discussed it last time, and I took on what needed, the notes and what needed to be done to make it better. So I worked really hard at this. So, and this restaurant supports me and my family. So it's not just like, so I wish you guys could understand that. I could actually come there and actually take a look and see how. So when you do something like that, to me, it's a little bit of an overreach in micromanagement when I'm going out of my way to legit work and be perfect at everything that needs to be done. So, anyway, that's it.
Thanks, ma'am. I can assure you, if you do things the right way, this won't concern you at all.
Oh, I don't know what's being added. I literally was told of the meeting tonight.
Okay, we've been working on this for a couple of years now, and this is the third reading for this agenda item. So if you'd like to stay behind, we'll have somebody from staff brief you on it.
Okay, because like I said, this is the third time I've been here too. So this is the third time I've been on the phone talking. That's
This
the only reason.
is the third reading for this event, though, for this ordinance.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. I also have Jim Sorrell. Jim, if you come forward, give us your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes, sir.
Jim Sorrell, 1410 Pinewood Road, Jacksonville Beach. I support this ordinance since the number one problem of Jacksonville Beach community is alcohol. The main concern of our community is safety. When our economy turned in 2008, and cuts had to be made, the citizens demanded that the fire and police protection be maintained. This ordinance shows the citizens that you are trying to address our safety concerns. I wish to point out that the state of Florida controls alcohol distribution. The licenses and regulations for alcohol sales are controlled by the state. For every so many thousand people, the state allocates a bar license. We already have too many bar licenses for our population. Any restaurant that is open for alcohol sales after the state's regulated time is not a restaurant but a bar. There are not good or bad businesses when it comes to alcohol. All the approximate 100 alcohol distributors in Jacksonville Beach contribute to the problem caused by alcohol distribution. The greatest problem is the closing time of 2 a.m. that put a very high concentration of alcohol influenced people into our community. The Central Business District has improved its cosmetic image over the decades, but is still a blighted area due to the effects of alcohol. Thank you for doing what is best for our community.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody else who would like to speak before we close the floor to the public? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to the council, and I have one on queue, Ms. Dumont.
Thank you. The whole reason why we have the penalty attached to the land and not the business owner is to make sure that, it has more weight. However, notification doesn't go to the property owner, it only goes to the business owner. So I make a motion that we amend the ordinance, that we amend this so that it includes clearly that the property owner also is made aware of any violations. So the first violation, second violation, and all the ones after that.
Okay, I'm going to recognize Ms. May. Go ahead.
Ms. May, Monterey. We reference Chapter 2, which references Chapter 162, which requires property owner notification. All of Chapter 162 has to go there, and we reference it D, but it is referenced by referencing chapter 2, special magistrate, and all of those proceedings go to the property owner. I don't know if that eases your mind, but it does reference it.
Right, I would be more comfortable, because I've had property owners contact me concerned that they're not, because as written, they don't see that unless they go through all the reference stuff, so just adding that in, it's a minor detail. Just for clarity's sake. Yes, it's there in the reference section, but just so if somebody's looking at it really quick, the property owner's got it out.
Understand, that's at the council's discretion. It always has been given to the property owner in the past when we've done this, but that's at your discretion.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, open for discussion. Do you see any disadvantage to including this in the ordinance?
There's absolutely no disadvantage to adding it, and it does not change it substantially. In other words, it was always in the reference, so you're not making a change that changes the substance.
Would you consider that not a scrivener's error, but it would be a scrivener?
Added language.
Added language, okay.
Clarification.
So we've got a motion and a second on the floor to include the added language requested by Councilmember Dumont. Ms. Golden?
I just wanted to mention that I support it because I think anytime we can clarify things in our ordinances, that's always a good thing, so I would be in support of it.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion on the amendment? Okay, now we're voting on the amendment. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, by your action, motion carries. So now we're back to the original floor item, agenda item. Any additional discussion? Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Vogelsang?
Yes.
Councilmember Dumont?
Yes.
Councilmember Golding?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Nichols?
Yes.
Mayor Latham?
Yes. Madam Clerk, please read ordinance number 2019-8125. First reading by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 32 Utilities, creating Article 7 Fats, Oils, and Grease, known as the FOG program, providing for definitions, providing for the purpose and applicability of the ordinance, requiring food service facilities to install, operate, and maintain gravity grease interceptors or hydro-mechanical grease interceptors, providing for scheduled cleaning of hydro-mechanical grease interceptors and gravity grease interceptors, providing for variance, providing for record keeping, providing for inspections of gravity grease interceptors and hydro-mechanical grease interceptors, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for findings, providing for severability, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, and providing for an effective date.
I move that we adopt ordinance number 2019-8125, providing for the purpose and applicability of the ordinance requiring food service facilities to install, operate, and maintain gravity grease interceptors or hydro-mechanical grease interceptor, providing for scheduled cleaning, record keeping, and inspection of hydro-mechanical grease interceptors and gravity grease interceptors.
Could you repeat that? Can we get a second? Okay, motion and second, Mr. Stefopoulos.
Fats, oils, and greases are what is considered to be one of the largest culprits in resulting sanitary sewer overflows in collection systems for municipalities and counties across the nation. Mr. Brown, our PCP Pollution Control Plant Superintendent, has been working for some period of time to put the appropriate ordinance in place to provide us with the right requirements and the right enforcement actions to make sure that we minimize the amount of fats, oils, and greases going into the collection system, and thus providing us more reliability in the collection system at our lift stations and with the quality of wastewater coming into the treatment plant. This is effectively a lot of people view this as the expansion of a pretreatment program, whereas certain industrial uses are required to remove certain compounds from their water before they put it into the sewer system. The same thing can be said about restaurants and other producers of high volumes of oils and greases. They should also be required to remove it before it gets into the system. Mr. Brown is here to talk a little bit about the program, and I believe he has a video for your entertainment purposes.
Yes. Mr. Brown.
Feel it's okay.
Make sure you're nowhere near eating lunch before you watch this. Officials in suburban Detroit discovered something huge and gross in a sewer line. It was a fatberg. Fatbergs are masses of grease, oils, and non-biodegradable waste that doesn't get washed away from the sewer. Fatbergs can build up in the tunnels and pipes and cause a big, solid, stinky mess. This fatberg in Macomb County, Michigan was an astounding 100 feet long and 6 feet tall, more or less the size of a blue whale. In a case of making lemonade from life's lemons, fatbergs have been put to good use. This monster, found in London's sewer system, was turned into biofuel. All the same, public works officials would rather you didn't flush your baby wipes, household grease, and other solids down the drain. The fewer fatbergs, the better. This is InsideEdition.com.
Very good.
Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Good evening, my name is Fuller Brown, PCP wastewater superintendent tonight. And come before you, as you've seen the presentation there, fatbergs, grease has been a major cause throughout the world, actually, London, Australia, and now in our major cities such as Charleston, South Carolina, and Baltimore, Maryland. One of the things with our aging infrastructure, we must be proactive and getting out in front of the situation. Right now, I have Mr. Breyer here, who also, he's the fats, fogs, and grease inspector. And one of the things he has been doing over the last 10 to 15 years is going around checking grease traps at all our restaurants. Currently, there's only one restaurant that does not have a grease trap, and that's Subway on Beach Boulevard, which got grandfathered in some time ago. When the bowling alley caught on fire, we did require them to put a grease trap in. So one of the biggest things, like I say, is protecting our sewer system. I returned from a conference, Fats, Oil, and Grease conference. This is becoming a large epidemic within our state. One of the things is it's really going into our stormwater drains, creating havoc within the stormwater drains, which affects the rivers. So DEP and EPA is now starting to really hammer down and press the issues with us getting grease and fats under control. So that's one of the major issues that we have right now. This is one of the things that I'm trying to bird dog to get in front of, because I'd rather be in front of it than behind it trying to play catch up. And one of the things that you have to consider is having sanitation sewer overflows. So when they start overflowing, that's coming up in the streets, which is hurting the environment, kids, looking at a lot of situations. Now, when I first started here 25 years ago, I used to have to go to the lift stations and actually clean the grease off every week, twice a week. I had to go do that. Thus far, since we have implemented Mr. Breyer as the fats, oil, and grease, we haven't had to do that as much, but it's still a problem with our backups. So I ask that you consider giving us some teeth in our ordinance that we are able to help in the environment, for one, and keep it safe, keep the water safe.
Phil, the people that put grease down their kitchen drains into the gray water system, does that affect this as well?
Yes, sir.
I wonder if we should put something in the Beaches Leader, not Beaches Leader, but the Beaches Energy statement in this that talks a little bit about that too.
At one time, we was putting things in the electric bills about fats, oil, and grease, and giving out candy grease items also. We try to go around to the schools because we figured that the schools, if we could get the kids to do, to understand it, then when they see mom doing it, they're going to say, Mom, you're not supposed to do that. And so that's one of our main sources of getting the word out. But right now, like I said, I want to get out in front of this before DEP comes down and start cracking out, because we do have some hot spots in the city right now. And when I say hot spots, areas that are very grease filled. places that we've been going, trying to keep up with the distribution and collection system. To let us know, when you have that hotspot, let us know so that we can start tracing it back to the restaurants, because this is a growing situation.
Good deal. Got several questions for you, so stand by a second. Mr. Wilkerson?
How long do the restaurants have to come into compliance with the ordinance?
Well, right now, most of all our restaurants are in compliance with the ordinance. What this is doing, because in our ordinance, I'm gonna take an example of a restaurant. Young lady just opened up the Cats restaurant, Mayport Cats. And prior to doing that, we had to have her to get a grease interceptor, which she didn't realize about it. She kind of gave us some problems. She kind of gave us a kickback. A lot of them give us kickback, but the thing is that they don't know that we really don't have no power to do anything. This here puts the power in the city's hands, because yes, it's a privately owned grease interceptor, but you dump it into a public sewer system. So with that being said, we should have that say-so. That's what this ordinance would do. This ordinance would say, we have say-so how you do your business, or how you, many times you get your grease trap.
What's the approximate cost?
For clipping the grease?
No, for this, so I'm not in compliance and I'm in a restaurant and I have 3 months to come into compliance. What's the cost for that approximately?
I don't have that. I might have to defer that to Mr. Breyer. He might have a better idea of the price.
Good evening, George Breyer, Police Control. You said the cost of a particular grease interceptor, how much it costs to install? That depends on what the Florida Plumbing Code say they need. If they need a small hydromechanical grease interceptor that can be installed by one plumber digging a hole, it could be a couple $100. Now, if we do the code and it comes into a large gravity grease interceptor that's in series, you know, you could be dealing with $10,000, $12,000 easily.
What about for a restaurant? Let's use a common example, Angie's Subs.
Which one, Angie's or Angie's Grown?
Angie's on Beach Boulevard. What do you think, how much do you think it would cost him to put in a grease interceptor?
It cost him approximately $7,000 in '09 to put in what he has now.
Okay. What percent of our restaurants do you think are not in compliance?
When you say not in compliance,
They do not have one of these installed. What percent of our restaurants
I
don't
had
have
one restaurant in Jacksonville Beach that don't have any protection for the sewer system. Like Mr. Brown said, that's Subway on Beach Boulevard.
No, I mean, how many don't have one of these types of specific grease traps that will need to go buy one within a certain amount of time?
You have approximately 4 restaurants that I will send a letter to as soon as I get the notice that this is passed, that need to upgrade their grease interceptor to come into compliance to this.
Okay, I guess that alleviates some of my concerns. I just had a little bit of a concern with saying you have X amount of months to come into compliance and spend maybe $10,000, which they might not have, and that applying to a significant number of restaurants. But if you're telling me that it's a very small number that don't have it, then it seems like they're kind of outside the norm already and should already be in compliance.
Well, this is something that's been going on since '02. And every restaurant that's been in operation in Jacksonville Beach since '02, knowing that this is coming down. I have been very proactive into explaining to them that you need to upgrade your grease interceptor, because eventually City of Jacksonville Beach will get an ordinance and you will have to come into compliance. So, like I said, this has been going on since '02. Anyone said that they don't have any idea that this may be coming down, you know, I'm going to question.
Well, I want to tell you, I personally appreciate that effort, because that makes this decision a lot easier for me, that you've been working so hard, so that way it is a low impact upon most of our businesses, because we don't want to just hammer every single business in our city all of a sudden. So for you to work diligently to keep up with this, even when they really technically didn't need it,
I do appreciate that, because now it kind of makes me approving this a little bit easier.
Well, technically didn't need it is not really the right verbiage to use. Technically, they needed it, but technically, we didn't have any means of enforcing what they actually needed.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir. You guys stand by for a minute, there's a few more questions, starting with Ms. Golden.
Thank you both for what you're doing, and Mr. Brown, I remember that tour you gave me, and yeah, so I understand why we need this. I did speak with Mr. Brown earlier today because I had some questions, and I guess you all are like me. I've learned way more about HGIs and GGIs than I ever wanted to know about, but I'm glad that you guys are doing this. And I wanted to just mention that I think that we need to modify the ordinance because you have some language in the gravity grease interceptor section regarding disposal, where it says that the businesses can't dispose of the grease in our private sewer line or the city's wastewater, but we don't have that same language in the disposal section for the hydromechanical grease interceptors. So I just think that we need to make sure that that's in there too, so that we don't have any loopholes or any problems with somebody with a hydromechanical grease interceptor, improperly disposing of the grease. Does that make sense?
Yes. Are you referring to the return of gray water back to
No,
the city?
it's 9, disposal. It's the subsection 9.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
With the hydromechanical grease interceptors being the fact that they're a lot smaller, it's a citywide initiative to stop the restaurant owners and operators to actually clean them themselves. This is what that's referring to, since we've always allowed that, and to dispose of it in the solid waste disposal, putting it in, double bagging it, and putting it in a container, and then throwing it into the garbage can. That's exactly what that's referring to.
Well, but in the gravity grease interceptor section, under 7 disposal, there's extra language that specifically says that you should not put any of this in the city's sewer or wastewater or whatever. And so I guess my thinking was that we would need to have that in the hydromechanical section as well.
Yes, ma'am, that wouldn't be a problem, but what
Okay.
you're referring to with the gravity grease interceptor being that they're so large, a lot of the pumping companies do a thing what they call pump and return. So they'll extract everything out of the grease interceptor itself. And we're talking about a container that's 1,500 or 750 gallons or 1,250 gallons, taking out the solid material and the oils, and then returning the gray water back to the grease interceptor. And there's language in here that says that that's strictly prohibited. Yeah, but added to the hydromechanical wouldn't be a problem. No.
Okay. And then there's just a few typos in here too, but I can give those to the city clerk just to clean it up. But otherwise, I support this. I think this is very important. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Nichols?
I appreciate what you guys are doing. Just as read, the action requested doesn't match the ordinance. There's, in line 3, should be interceptors, and line 4 should be scheduled cleaning. So there's just a couple minor ones on there. I'm not sure if it needs to be reread or we can just correct it.
Okay. So it was
Line 3, hydromechanical grease interceptors, that should be an S there, and providing for scheduled cleaning, should be a D after scheduled.
Okay.
I would like to add also one thing to also set your mind at ease about before. We do in the city have a rebate program that we do help share the costs of them upgrading their grease trap.
I actually wrote that down, so I appreciate, but I didn't share that because it was such a small number. I didn't want everybody else to be upset.
that already bought this thing, so I didn't bring it up. But I do appreciate you saying that, because I did write that down, rebate question mark, because it was gonna apply to a lot of people.
Yes.
That was something I was gonna suggest, but
Yeah, but it's a small number.
I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dumont.
Thank you. I think you should have got hazard pay for the having to manually remove the grease trap. Having worked in restaurants for a very long time, it is a very unpleasant stench.
Yes, it is.
Very. With restaurants with family grease traps, not pleasant. But we've been talking about the cost to the businesses, and I just wanted to, just a guesstimate of the cost to the city if this is not done. If this isn't passed and we still kind of go with, we don't really have teeth in this, what's the cost to the city? I know with our sewer line, with our lines itself, it's a lot, but just something simple like cleaning out the filters, cleaning the filters.
You gotta. Well, we have what Mr. Brown referred to as hot spots in the city, where the crew actually goes out. We have identified 4 of them. We have normal line cleaning, and the 4 we actually have to clean over and over again to keep the sewer flowing. So you have a crew of 4 people, a truck, and a supervisor, and then myself will come out there to ensure that it's done. So you're talking, I don't know.
How many hours? How many hours?
A year,
In every event that you go out and clean?
3 hours. 3 hours per cleaning. Now, we do have normal line cleaning that we have to do, but those are just over and above what we normally do. So you're talking $1,500
Per clean.
per cleaning.
Right. My point for this is that while there is going to be cost to the businesses, and we offer the rebate, the long-term cost for the city, just the basic cost is extremely high, never mind when the state starts coming in and they start cranking things up. So I strongly support this. Again, this is a huge issue.
Yes.
It was a great little YouTube clip. Thank you.
Ms. Hoffman?
Mr. Vogelsang already asked my question regarding the rebate program. I did remember that we did that a few years ago. Has that been well utilized? Have we seen a lot of our businesses take advantage of that?
Unfortunately, not as many as I would like. Just off the top of my head, from the inception of it, I would say about 8. And he's taking advantage of it.
Single digit 8?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is that, and that's information that for those remaining restaurants that we can hopefully proactively get to them?
Well, according to how it was written, it's an existing business that's upgrading their research sector. And so when that happens, I personally go to them and say, we will help you all 50% up to what is it, 10,000. And like I said, we've only had probably about 8 takers. Some people just flat out didn't. I don't understand it, but they just didn't take it.
And I'm just kind of wondering what's on the menu at the Fat Oil and Grease Convention. I'm just envisioning like chicken tenders, french fries.
Well, one of the interesting statistics that came out to reduce sewer lines from fats, oil, and grease up to $3 trillion to replace sewer lines in our system. So getting the time and the people and the effort at a minimum of 3 hours, a minimum, depending upon the cost, depending on how much it's backed up, depending on how big it is. It could go from 3 hours to 8 hours. It could go to days. Because in one episode, in one case, they had to lower people down into the sewer to actually manually clean it and to use pressure washers to try to break the fats, oils, and grease down.
You guys have a gas re-engineer certified space entry for that kind of thing, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. That's nasty.
It is. As I said, when I first started, that was my first job. Go around to every station, lift station, and make sure I clean the grease off the floats.
Wow.
And bucket it and take it to the plant and dump it.
Well, as a former Burger King employee, I gotta tell you, I like Mr. Munn, I tremendously respect what you're doing, and thank you very much. It's not an easy thing to do. Quick revisit, Ms. Golden?
I'd like to amend the ordinance, section 32-183 D9, to incorporate the language, neither grease nor solid material removed from a hydromechanical grease interceptor, and I can give you this afterwards, shall be returned to any hydromechanical grease interceptor, private sewer line, or any portion of the city's wastewater collection system or water reclamation facilities without prior written approval of the City of Jacksonville Beach Public Works Director.
I asked city manager if he was okay with that language.
Just to recap, you're basically blending the disposal for the hydromechanical and the disposal for the hydraulic, and basically making them reconsistent.
Aligning them, yes.
No problems with that.
Okay, so we've got a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a second. Is there any discussion from the council? Okay, this is for the amendment. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? By your action, motion carries. We're back to the original agenda item. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilor Dumont?
Yes.
Councilor Golding? Yes. Councilor Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilor Nichols?
Yes.
Councilor Vogelsang?
Yes.
Mayor Latham?
Yes. Moving on to 197.
I move that we adopt ordinances number 2019-8126, 2019-8127, and 2019-8128, amending Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 5, General Employees Retirement System, Division 6, Police Officers Retirement System, and Division 7, Firefighters Retirement System of the City of Jacksonville Beach, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, Mr. Stefanos.
Just to speak briefly on all three of these in combination, back on the 28th of October, we held a special briefing for council to basically walk them through a series of changes that we were proposing to all three of the different pensions that the city has, the police, the fire, and general employees' pension plans. There is no financial impact for the ordinances that are in front of you today. It's basically clarifying and restructuring language to put them into more modern terms, to add some new definitions, and to basically bring them up to snuff based on a multitude of changes that had occurred over the last decade plus. With that being said, we have both our pension attorney and the human resources director, Ann Muse, here, in the event that they would like to speak any more about it or have any questions.
Yeah, before we do, the clerk's light's on, so Madam Clerk, you have something to add?
Would you like me to read the title?
I'm operating on half a cylinder time. Madam Clerk, please read by title only.
Okay, I have three, so there's three separate titles.
Okay.
Can I read each one?
Let's just do one at a time. We're going to take them one at a time.
Okay. An ordinance of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, amending and restating in its entirety Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 5, General Employees Retirement System of the City of Jacksonville Beach Code of Ordinances, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. And for the record, there's already been a motion and a second, so we'll continue on with discussion. Ms. Golden, did you have something to add? Okay, anybody else on the item? Ms. Hoffman?
Just the motion that I made was for all three together, not one at a time.
Okay, well, I think we're going to vote one at a time.
Okay.
I just have one comment. The ordinance involving the firefighters, there is a minor scrivener's error. And on pages 1, 3, and 5, the section says section 2-164.15 should say section 2-164.1A. So that needs to be corrected as well. And the revision of these ordinances, as our city manager stated, resulted from a long project. It was initiated by our board of trustees for our pension funds. And the changes were basically trying to resolve conflicts of language in other areas within the ordinance, but it had no financial impact to the ordinances. In our firefighters ordinance, there are some changes that are related to the interlocal agreement, and the financial impact of that will be determined and be provided to City Council prior to the second reading.
Thank you, Ann. Any additional comments from the council?
One more thing, I do want to introduce David Robinson. He's the city attorney. He's been working on this project for, a city attorney, he's our pension attorney. He's been working on this project for what, 4 or 5 years? So he's also here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. You're welcome. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to count your 3 motions to count each of the 3, but we're going to vote individually in case there's any concern about one of the 3 from the others. So the first one we've got is 197, which is general employees. Any last minute discussion before we take roll call? Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Golding? Yes. Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Nichols?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogelsang?
Yes.
Councilmember Dumont? Yes. Mayor Latham?
Yes. And now we're moving on to the next one, item 198 on the agenda. This is the police retirement system. Any discussion before we vote? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Read it.
Need to read it. I thought it had been read.
I read the motion for all 3, but the title that she read was just on
Oh, okay.
each individual.
That's right. Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you read this by title only, please?
An ordinance of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, amending and restating in its entirety Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 6, Police Officers Retirement System of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Code of Ordinances, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Madam. We do have a motion and a second now. Any final discussion on this before it goes to a vote? Madam Clerk, can you do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Nichols?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogelsang?
Yes.
Councilmember Dumont?
Yes.
Councilmember Golding? Yes. Mayor Latham?
Yes. Madam Clerk, please read 2019-8128 by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, amending and restating in its entirety Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 7, Firefighters Retirement System of the City of Jacksonville Beach Code of Ordinances, providing for severability, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. We also have a motion and a second on this agenda item. Is there any further discussion prior to voting? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Nichols?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogelsang?
Yes.
Councilmember Dumont?
Yes.
Councilmember Golding? Yes. Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Mayor Latham?
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is adjourned. Have a great night.